Hello, and welcome to the Cryptocurrency News Channel. We're going to talk about Bitcoin, and a significant event happened on October 31st, and we're going to do some price projections based on some numbers. Obviously, numbers with Bitcoin is very, very, how shall we say, kind of like not all that useful, but they're kind of fun to look at because Bitcoin's only been around for a little more than 10 years, so there's not that much history. And since each cycle is 4 years, we don't even have 3 cycles to really look at the price of Bitcoin. But the significant event is that Bitcoin actually ended above 13,000 this particular month. Now, the last time it hasn't, the article actually says it hasn't done that in 3 years. But the interesting fact is it's only done that once in its entire history. And the last and only time it ended a month above $13,000 was December 2017. And interestingly enough, it actually ended the month at around $13,890, which is very, very close where it actually ended this month. I think this month it ended at like $30 cheaper or something. I didn't exactly know what the price was at midnight on October 31st because I was doing something else on October 31st. But it was around 13,800, somewhere between 13,800 and 13,900, I believe. If not, it might have been like 13,750. It doesn't really matter. It's like $100 off. And that's very significant. This is the only other time besides that bull run it's reached 13,000. It's actually ended a month above 13,000, and that was definitely an upwards candle. Now, that's actually not what I'm actually going to base my price off of. Well, it's kind of going to be, but it's the multiplier that I'm actually interested in from one peak to the next. So here's the thing. If you remember back in way back, I believe it was 2016. And you look back on the previous cycle before that, in 2013, Bitcoin, the peak end month price was back, I think, in November of 2013. And that price was actually $1,184. And Bitcoin didn't get to that again until several years later. About 3 years later, which is about like pretty much the same as we are from the last peak. Now, the next peak was $19,700, and that gives you about a 17x multiplier from 2013's peak to 2017's peak. Now, if you take this same 17x multiplier, apply it to 2017's peak to 2021's peak, because it seems like it's going this same cycle, you would get about $230,000 for the next peak in 2021. Now, I don't really think it's actually going to do that because there was actually a peak in 2009. It was like a penny or something, maybe like 5 cents. Obviously, the peak from 5 cents to $1,000 is like astronomical. It's several thousand, and it's far, far greater than the peak from 2013 to 2017. So you can actually see that as a coin goes up, it does rise logarithmically, but the multiplier each time is much smaller. Now, if you do kind of like the mathematical like regression from it, and you basically say, well, it went up like 3,000 times the first time and only 17 the second time, the third time it's going to just fall off like a rock after that. Obviously, you wouldn't get very much, but you can't really do like the first cycle and the second cycle and extrapolate to the third cycle because Bitcoin had just started for a year. No one really knew what it was in 2009. So because it was under a penny or around a penny, any kind of like shock in the price could actually bring it up 30, 40, 50, or 100 times. So that data point in 2009 is actually not all that relevant. But still, from like the growth cycle of BTC from each cycle, you can actually see that one peak to the next is not the same multiplier as the next peak to the next peak. So that's why like I still think it's gonna be 50 to 60,000. Optimistically, I'm guessing around 100,000 if everything falls right, but I'm guessing around 50 to 60,000, and that's with all the institutional money coming in. Because you have to remember, the institutional money is being bought over the counter, which will eventually affect the price, but not in the massive same way as retailers affect the price. I definitely do think there will be a big pump, and I think we're gearing up for it next year. So what I would say is I think it's very unlikely we get to 230,000, but I would look at the 230,000 as like a high water mark for the most optimistic high water mark for December 2021, January 2022, or somewhere like that. If it reaches 200,000 at any time and the altcoins pump accordingly, I would obviously sell like 95% of the stack. But I think that's the high watermark under very, very optimistic scenarios. I wouldn't bet on it, but I would be willing to say that like, I think it's probably going to be below 100,000 on the next peak. Probably 50 to 60,000 would be my guess as always. but it could go higher than that depending on how much we actually FOMO in. But you can see, like, the 2009 peak to the 2013 peak was like 5,000x. Well, it was like actually like 100,000x, and then like the 2013 peak to the 2017 peak was like 17x. And I believe like the 2017 peak to the 2021 peak will probably be something like maybe 3x, 3.5, somewhere between, maybe like somewhere between 2.5 and 5x, which would range it between $50,000 and $100,000. And of course, the altcoins are going to go higher. So I think if you're actually investing in a lot of those altcoins, I think you can see 50, 100x, even with like altcoins in maybe like the 15 to 50 range. So there's some solid investments in there that you can actually gain a really, really good ROI out of. So that's basically where I'm at right now, and that's kind of the play with numbers. Judging from just taking a small peek at the price of the like the 2019 peak, and then especially the 2013 peak and the 2017 peak. And I do believe we're kind of in kind of a bull run, because remember, like $13,890 was last achieved in at the end of the month, was last achieved in December, and that was actually post peak. And this is definitely pre-peak, just the starting the pump. This is exactly like end of 2016, beginning of 2017. So I would expect the $13,000 maybe to rise to $25,000, $26,000, and then the next pump, and then like a sudden pump bringing us up possibly from 50 to 75,000 before a lot of the altcoins just explode. So that's kind of like what I'm looking at right now. I hope you enjoyed this episode. Just a little play on numbers. You can check the data yourself, but there has only been one other month where Bitcoin ended above $13,000, and that was at the height of the last bull run. And we are basically ending the month around the same price as the monthly end on that bull run month, because November actually ended below 13,000, and by January's end, it had already dropped below 13,000 as well. So we're at a very, very important price inflection point. So that is the news for today. Let me know what you think. Like and subscribe, and hit that bell notifications button. Thank you, and have a nice day.